Trapping. I believe in seeing the animals myself, but I do believe in the knowledge to keep after yourself in the woods. So whenever practicing traps, go out, practice them, dismantle them after. They're very cruel things, the animals will suffer, and that's what you're going in the countryside to see, a part of it. Also part of it is knowing what the materials in the countryside can do for you, and if they can feed you via traps, all the better. There is an argument between trapping and hunting. Hunting is a very clean way of killing animals. Headshots ideally, deer is an example. But hunting takes a lot of energy, you've got to have a weapon as well of course, to go out and hunt, and you're not guaranteed to kill anything. With traps, and enough of them, one of them per day is going to catch you a meal of some sort. So you're always taking on food. Plus, when you're out going to check your trap lines for your dinner, on the way you can do other tasks. Collect firewood on the way back to camp, gather wild berries, fruits and greens. While you're out there, you're also checking for insects and fungi. So you're going out to get hopefully a meal, and you're gathering a meal in the process. Where hunting, you go out and you're very concentrated on catching the animal rather than what's about you, which is the right way to do hunting because you can't be distracted with a weapon. So trapping via shooting or hunting with a bow and arrow might be another example. They are good, they both get animals, but trapping is far more successful. We've got to get rid of our human scent. Two ways we do this: rubbing our hands in manure, rabbit poo, things like that, or the earth itself, or smoke them over the fire. And it's a case of just leaving them by the fire and let them take on the smoke. This will take about an hour, and then we'll wire snare now. So we're inserting the peg just off the run. We've attached the wire. And Alex is 4 fingers high. 4 fingers high. And about a fist wide. Maybe just a smidge under. If you're lucky, the wire will stay there. If not, like this one, it's going to drip a little bit. We're going to just make a stake and put it in place. Now with the aid of the little stick, the wire will stay in place where we want it. This also adds a little bit of protection for the wind and more stability. These snares now, from this point forward, are working for us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which means we're saving calories. Zoom in so you can see what Alex is doing. He's used a forked stick on this occasion. You could put 2 straight sticks either side and do the same thing. But basically, he's put 2 little notches of the bark facing up the slit, which is going to hold the snare up. And it's approximately 4 fingers high off the ground, so the head goes through, and about a fist wide. On the wire ones, we've actually found it's they go a little bit smaller because not everybody's hand's the same size. But that's the basic principle. The benefit of trapping, of course, these are now working from this point on 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for us. Somerset snare. I'll show you the workings of it. There's a peg driven into the ground, which I've cut a notch in. A snare set to the trigger bar, and then a line set to a sprung sapling. If we go up, there's the sapling bent over there. So that's the mechanism. I'm going to trigger it now, and we'll go from there. Basically, we'll corral the animal to come through to the snare, which is here. We'll build up little walls either side, making this the only entrance. The snare can come work either direction. The animal comes in, triggers the snare, and is suspended like that. The bed, and this is how we set it. We bring the suspension bar down and set it in firmly. Expand the snare. Use this one, which is a piece of stick, which is well split. And I'm going to put the snare wire through, and that's holding it beautiful snug now. So, 4 fingers high, about a fist wide. This will catch either direction. The animal comes in, releases, and is suspended and killed by strangulation. This is a bait bar trap. You can see the leg of the squirrel there been tied onto the bait bar rather than pierced, so he has to really tug at it to release the bait bar. The noose is set around the outside, and then we're coming up behind the trap where the sapling is going to be, is the bent over sapling, which will be the trigger mechanism. I'll show you how to do these and how to release. I've inverted a fork stick into the ground there, and I've also got a bait bar. A bait bar like so. 2 fork stick and an inverted small fork stick to hold the snare open. From this I've got a suspension bar, which is a sapling here, tied off to a toggle mechanism. And if you can see it dangling in the tree, let's see if I can get it in. Toggle mechanism. So, toggle mechanism tied to the springy sapling, and the second string is a snare. There you go. We always work behind the trap so that if it does spring off by accident, comes out the ground, it doesn't hit us. And you'll see the line going down to the toggle, which I'll go to now. The snare comes around the back of the around the trap. The snare comes around the back of the trap and it's been opened up here. Opened up here. So the animal has to come in. I began to put a screen up on across the back so the animal can only come from one direction. This is the toggle mechanism from the front. You can see the bait bar going off to where you put the bait at the point. The animal comes in, grabs the bait bar, releases the bait bar, being caught. Today we've built a spring leg trap, and to start with we need a stick like this, 2 of, and we're going to saw this off. Then we're going to hammer this in the ground and put a bar underneath there. We've inverted 2 V's, there and there. We've put a bar underneath. We've got a trigger bar and a release bar underneath. I've done a framework of wood coming off the base bar, and I've done a lattice going the other way. And now I'm going to cover this with natural materials. And we're going to sit our loop on top or just underneath some. That's not a problem. And then to get the animal here, you're either going to do this on the game trail where the animal's walking to, or some way of attracting it. And I might have just the thing for that. Snare ready to be activated. Now to put the animal there, over that, I've hung a carcass of a squirrel. I didn't shoot this, I found it a roadkill. So I'm going to put it to good use and get rid of some foxes hopefully. And that's just suspended over a bar that I've bent over to put it in the right place. Now we don't have to worry too much. The loop's very big, so the fox won't get in, will get caught as soon as he puts his feet on there somewhere. And from the trigger mechanism, there, it's bent off, follow the string up to a bent sapling, which will spring up, catapulting the snare upwards. And I'll show you one of them again. The fox is going to come in, stand on this platform, catching him and taking him up. This is a figure 4 we set up, and we'll show you the mechanism for it now. How we trigger the figure 4 trap. The direction of the 4 will obviously direct it towards the head of the animal whilst taking it. This is how we set a figure 4 trap up. We've got a bar driven firmly into the ground with a notch cut out of it. Another bar where the bait will go with a notch taken out of it. We put that in firmly to start with. I've also notched out the end. I've sliced off this piece, which slips into there, and I've also put a couple of notches just to help with a point for security. Without that, this just wobbles and it's very hard to get a good balance. Like so. And then carefully putting your weight on top. Like so. Being very careful this doesn't trigger when you're above it, because it will hit you in the nuts. And now this is working for us now. To make it a bit more sensitive, little tweaks are needed, but that's a feel as you go method. Bird snare we've set up. It's designed to catch pigeons and roosting birds. If you know where pheasants or ground birds are roosting, you set this up and they'll use it as a stepping stone to get to their perch. So you can go out in the day and they're not particularly fussy about scent and things like that. So you can find out where they're roosting, put this up, and you can make this as high or as short as you want. If it's for ducks, for instance, it would be short. For pigeons roosting, it'd be high. But actually I'd use this for pigeons by their watering hole. This is a bird snare. The bird will either come from the ground to the perch or from above to the perch. You put its weight on here, displace it, the counterbalance will tighten up onto its legs, leaving it suspended off the ground. This is handy because it will keep the bird alive and away from predators like foxes.